So in today's session, we will look at the CLI of the switch and how what are the different things that we can do in the CLI, and we'll also discuss like few further topics in the course today. So over here with Cisco Packet Tracer, okay. As I had informed earlier that I will just inform basic things about this particular tool. Okay, I will leave it up to you to explore this particular tool. Okay, it's a very friendly tool, but again, you need to spend some time to understand its basic things. Okay, so over here there are two types of this particular screen or this particular white screen that you see. You can just simply drag and drop the devices that you see on the bottom. Okay, and you have different devices. Okay, so if you see over here, you have networking devices with routers, switches, etc. You can also drop switches in between different types of switches. Then you have hubs. You can like drop hubs. Okay, then you have different Wi-Fi devices like Cisco Meraki Wi-Fi devices, etc. So if you know how to work with these repeaters, hubs, and switches, you can use these devices in order to see. Okay, now so basically, it's everything is from in this tool. It's all drag and drop. Okay, and over here, this particular tool gives us two types of what do you say play field, I can say, or a workplace. Okay, one is a real time, the other is a simulation. Okay, so in the last class, when I was doing the practical of how switches basically forward data, I was like switching between real time and simulation simultaneously. Okay, so real time mean whatever actually happens in real time. The like the sending of data, the receiving of data, the speed at which the data is sent, the speed at which the devices read each and every data and process data. That is what we will see in the real time. But if you want to slow them down, if you want to slow the transmission of data, and we want to see each and every single data that is being sent out, we need to switch it to the simulation mode, right? And then whenever we start to send a data, it will start to show us each and every packet and details inside it. Okay, so let's start with that. Okay, so I started with the switch. Okay, so I'll use this particular switch, 2960 switch, right? And so over here you can see this 2960 switch. Okay, let me zoom that in. So okay, this is how that particular switch would look like. Okay, whichever switch that I drag and drop, it is what particular switch is it? It is 2960. The model number of that Cisco switch is 2960. Okay, so this is the back of that switch, and you can clearly see here Catalyst 2960 is mentioned. Catalyst 2960 switch is mentioned over here, and this is the back of that particular switch. Okay, and you can see these ports, right, which I showed you on the physical switch that I had. Okay, so these are the different interfaces you can check. Okay, and this is the console cable. Okay, now this console port is very important in every device. It can be a switch, it can be a router. Okay, why is this console port or a console? Yeah, why is this a console? Why is the console port very important? We need to understand. Okay. And to understand that, we'll talk about the importance of console cable a bit later. Okay, but however, these are the few things that you may see, or you may find in a switch. Now, there are two types of switches. So as I was saying, there are two types of switches. One is a managed switch or even a managed router. Okay, managed switch. The other is the unmanaged switch. Okay, unmanaged switch. Now, what is the difference between an unmanaged switch and a managed switch? Okay. Unmanaged switch is a switch which you do not have a control of. Okay, meaning that it will not have a console port. Okay, it will have only these ports that are mentioned over here. Okay, all you need to do is just simply plug it. Okay, this is the power outlet. You just need to power this in into the socket. Okay, and just power it on, and then you can simply connect different devices. Okay, let's say you connected a PC. You over here you connected a printer. Okay, over here you connected something, some other PC. Okay, and then over here you connected a Wi-Fi router, etc. Whatever. Okay, you can do, and it will start working the way it was programmed. Okay, so it is already programmed to work according to whatever it has been programmed for, but it will work the same way that I explained. Okay, forwarding of data, understanding the MAC addresses, etc. Everything is already programmed on that device. Okay, all you need to do is just it unmanaged switch is also called as a plug and play switch. You just need to plug it in and it will start working automatically. Okay, you don't have to worry about configuration. Okay, you don't have to worry about configuring or customizing the working of switch on your own. You don't have to worry about it. All you need to do is just simply plug different devices into different ports and it will start to work. That is what you call it as unmanaged switch. Okay, where you don't have to configure anything. It will work on its own, right? Then there is something called as I said, it's a managed switch, meaning where you can actually configure the switch. You can configure the switch. You can check the CLI. Check the CLI. CLI full form is command line interface. Now, what is this? What is this CLI? Command line interface. So a command line interface, okay, on a Cisco packet tracer, if you simply click on the switch, it will open such a dialog box. Okay, and you can clearly see few tabs on the top left corner over here. The first one is a physical tab, and if you in the physical tab, you can see the device how it looks like physically. Right. The next is config. We'll talk about that later. The next is CLI. This is what I was talking about. CLI, command line interface. And this is what a command line interface of a switch looks like. This is what a command line interface of a switch looks like. So it's like the command prompt on our computer, right? I just clicked on the command prompt. So this is the command prompt of my computer, right? So similarly, there is a command prompt on a switch or on a router, which we call it as a command line interface. So on managed switches, you can access this command line interface or CLI, okay, and make changes to the switches. You can configure the switches how you want it to be working. Okay, so in unmanaged switch, it's just plug and play. You cannot do anything. But in a managed switch, you can manage the switch, right? That is why it's called as manage. You can manage the switch. How you can manage the switch? We'll check that now. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, sorry about that. So now in this CLI, what can you see? Okay, what can you see in this CLI of a switch? So you can see here, it mentions the model number of this switch, which is called as a catalyst. C means catalyst. It's a type of a Cisco switch. Okay, the model number is 2960. You can check the software version, right? And what is the bytes of memory it has, what kind of processor it uses, everything, all that you can see over here. The rest of the information is from a network engineer's point of view is not very important. So I'm skipping all these things for now. Okay. So it gives us all these, when if you know, or if you have seen the old computers, right, which were the desktop computers, right? So when you power on the switch, there will be a star kind of symbol, something like this, and the symbol of an Intel chip will be mentioned, and then it starts to bootload some command lines or some kind of lines that you will see, right? So you will see those things over here, right? So again, from a networking engineer point of view, for now, these are not important. Okay, these are important, but when are these important? We'll come to that pretty much later in the course. Okay, so let's get started. Press return or press enter. Okay, now the moment you press enter, it can be a switch. Okay, it can be a switch, it can be a router, but whenever you press enter the first time, when you are accessing the CLI of the router, lesser than or greater than symbol, I don't know what you call this. Okay, less than symbol. Okay, switch less than symbol. Okay, so you will see this for a router as well. Router is another device. Okay, you will see this for a router as well. Okay, guys, give me a minute. I'm get. So this particular prompt line, okay, or whatever we see here is called as the uh, user execution mode. User execution mode. So the moment you press enter, okay, we press enter over here, and the moment we press enter, it took us to this particular prompt, and this particular prompt is part of the user execution mode. Okay. Now, in this user execution mode, you can check only very few details of the switch. And most commonly, okay, now if you want to see something, okay, let's say that you went to a shop, okay, and you saw, let's say you went to a watch shop, okay, and you liked a design or you liked a particular watch. So what do you tell the customer? Show me this watch, right? Similarly, most of the outputs that you can see or can view, most of the outputs or most of the configurations of the switch or features of the switch that you can see, okay, that you can see is through the show command. The show command. So you will always write show. Can you see the font clearly? Is it okay, or is it too small, or is it too big? Is the font clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay, good. Okay. So the first command is show command. Okay. Now show. Now with this show command, what are the different outputs that you can see? We will discuss most of the outputs that I'm going to show you next. However, not every output we will be discussing in the course. Few outputs, and those few outputs, how are we executing them, and what is the importance of those outputs? As we go through the course, I'll explain those as well. For now, in today's class, we're only going to experience, or I am only going to explain the command line interface of a particular switch, right? So with show command, you can execute or you can see these different outputs. Okay, and as I said, we will not be going through every outputs in this whole course. We'll be going through only very few outputs in this course. And what are those outputs? I'll tell you right away. That is show ARP, show Ether channel, show interfaces, show IP, show MAC address table, show versions, show VLAN, etc. But what is a VLAN? What is a MAC address table? What is an ARP? What is an Ether channel? As we go through the course, we will be going through these topics one by one. That time I'll explain you the importance or the the whole detail of those command lines. Okay, so with the show command, you can check. Okay, so you can check different outputs. Since we discussed about MAC address table, we can say show MAC address table. Okay, so since it is an empty MAC address table because there is no connectivity around the switch. That is why the MAC address table of this switch is empty. Okay, the MAC address table of this switch is empty. Okay, now again, instead of typing the whole command MAC hyphen address hyphen table like this, okay, I can just write show, and I just need to write the start of the next command prompt. Okay, I can just write MAC. Simply, I can just type MAC, and after MAC, I'm using a Windows laptop. I'm not using a like Apple Mac. I'm using a Windows laptop, so I'm not sure what is the equivalent button for a tab. On the Windows keyboard, I'm pressing tab key. When I press the tab key, okay, when I press the tab key, it auto fills the whole command prompt or the next command prompt. Okay, as I said, I just need to press tab hyphen and tab. It will auto complete the whole command prompt. Okay, now if you see here, when I'm pressing continuously tab over here. It is not auto completing. The reason is probably there are multiple command prompts that are starting with just MAC. And what are those command prompts which are starting with MAC? All I need to do is enter question mark. Okay, enter question mark. Over here, we can see the only command prompt that starts with MAC is MAC address table. However, this switch is unable to identify or complete the next, is unable to complete the whole prompt. So I'm just typing hyphen and pressing tab. It auto completes the whole command line, the show command output that I want to check. And if I press enter, it shows me the output. Right. Similarly, if I press show, and let's say I am new to the switch, it's a new model for me. Okay, let's say I am used to working with Cisco switches. Suddenly, I am supposed to work with different company switch or a different vendor switch. Most of the vendors have the same working feature. Okay, most of them have the same kind of command line. Okay, most of them have the same kind of show outputs. I do not know. Let's say I'm working on an Arista switch. Arista is also a vendor. I'm working on an Arista switch. I don't know how to check the MAC address on the Arista switch. As I said, I am used to a Cisco switch, but I'm not used to an Arista switch. I want to see after show command, what are the different types of outputs that I can fetch. To see that, you just need to press question mark. Okay, the moment I pressed question mark, these are the different command prompts that I can execute after show command. So show ARP will fetch me a result. Show CDP will fetch me a different result. Show clock, show crypto, show Ether channel, show interfaces, show MAC address table, show privilege, show terminal, show version, show VLAN. So after show, these are the different types of outputs that I can fetch from the switch. Okay, so let's say show interfaces. When I do a show interfaces and press enter, it will show me the output. It will show me the output of each and every interfaces of the switch, meaning this these interfaces. These are the different interfaces: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 24 interfaces. There are 24 ports or 24 interfaces. So when I did a show interface, it is showing me the output of 24 interfaces, 24 different interfaces. Output meaning, similarly, if I do a show, and question what are the different things, type show version, and it will show me those information. Okay, so if I scroll up, it shows me this thing. When I do a show version, it shows me what kind of a switch it is, what is the version running on. Okay, what is the version running of the, what is the version that this switch is running on? 15.0. So with the show command, you can check the different features of the switch. You can check different outputs of the switches. User execution mode. So the user execution mode, okay. So when you press enter, the first thing that the switch will take you is to this execution mode, user execution mode. And we just discussed what are the different show outputs that you can check in the user execution mode. All right. Any question?
No, sir. It's clear.
Now there is another mode which is called as a user privilege mode. PRIVILEGE, user privilege mode. I have underlined the word privilege. Privilege meaning, like, you have extra support. Okay, in Hindi you call it I forgot the exact word for a privilege. Okay, in Hindi. Okay, and also in Tamil I forgot what the exact word for a privilege. Okay. But however, it's a privilege. It's an honor. It's a, like, kind of special status that is given when you are a privileged person, like, you are a VIP person. Similarly, to get inside that VIP mode for a switch, to get inside a VIP mode of the switch, you need to type the command enable. The moment you type the command enable, it takes you to this particular mode, that is user privilege mode. And you can clearly see the first difference. It is from a less than or equal less than symbol, it changed the command, the prompt changed to a hashtag. That's the first and foremost difference we will see. From a less than symbol, it changed to a hashtag. Correct. Again, in this privilege mode also, you can do different show commands. But as I said, it's a privilege. Okay, you are a VIP. Okay, you are a VIP or you are an important person. So the amount of show commands that you can see is more than the normal mode over here. We can see over here in the user execution mode, there were only very few command outputs that you can check. But in a user privilege mode, you can see the different or you can see the longer list of commands that you can check after the show command. Many commands are same. Many commands are same, like in art, ether channel, history, interfaces, MAC address table. Okay, then sessions, then versions, VLANs, etc. But apart from these commands, there are many other commands that we cannot see under the execution mode. It can be seen only in the privileged mode. It can be seen only in the privileged mode. Now, what is the difference and why is this difference between the user execution mode and a user privilege mode? User execution mode and user privilege mode. Privilege mode is the mode that we are right now with a hashtag. In the execution mode, we will see a less than symbol. Execution mode. Okay, we'll see the as a less than or equal to a less than symbol. And in the privilege mode, we are seeing a hashtag. What is the difference between these two? Imagine, uh, yeah, imagine you are using your laptop. You're using your laptop, and suddenly your laptop has a problem. Okay, so you call the tech support. The tech support guy came to your home, and then, right, and then what? Let's say you have created different profiles. Okay, in olden times when we had the desktop computers, okay, you can create different accounts. Okay, let's say for your mom there will be a profile, for your father there will be a profile. So if your mom is accessing the laptop, she will use her profile. If your father is accessing, he will use the dad profile. If you are accessing, you will use the me profile. If your brother or sister is accessing, they will use the brother or sister account. And then there is a guest account as well, which anyone apart from your family, anyone who is accessing the computer, he can use this profile and log into the computer. Correct. Similarly, this privilege mode and execution mode is like, privilege mode is like family mode, where only the family members can gain access. But a user execution mode is a guest mode, where only guests have access. And since they are guests, we will show them only limited amount of things. We will show them only limited amount of. Okay. For example, again, another way of looking at it. Let's say your cousin is coming. Okay. Your cousin is a family, and he is visiting, or he or she is visiting your house for the first time. Okay. Your cousin has the access to your whole house. This is your house. Okay. Your cousin will have the access to everything in your house: the hall, the kitchen, your bedroom, your balconies, etc. Okay, he can freely come into the house, he can freely go out of the house, he can freely eat whatever is in the house, he can cook in the house. Okay, he can freely use the fridge, he can drink milk from the fridge, whatever. The cousin has a free access to the house. But if it is a guest, okay, if it is a guest, for example, if the person is your neighbor, this is your house, but the person who is right now sitting in your house is your neighbor, just a neighbor, he will only have access to the living room. Okay, he is not going to go into the kitchen, he is not going to go inside the bedroom, he is not going to check, or he cannot go, he cannot open the fridge and he can drink milk, etc. Why? Because he's a guest, he needs to respect that privacy. But cousins, their family, we don't have any respect for them, nor do they have for us, and they can use our house as they want. Similarly, here also it works the same thing. The user execution mode is given to those, or the access to the user execution mode is given to those who are like tech support guys. Tech support guys, let's say you are the admin. You are the administrator of the network. You are the administrator or you are the manager of your network. And you had some problem and you called the tech support guy, but you do not want to give him access. You do not want to give him the access to your to the information of the complete switch. So you tell the tech support guy to use the user execution mode, to work with the user execution mode. Okay, to work with the user execution mode. So over here, disable exit. So now when the tech support guy enters or logs into the switch or switches CLI, he will see this execution mode, user execution mode, and he can run only a limited amount of command lines. Okay. Now you may ask me, but what if he just enters enable and he can log into the privilege mode and he will have even more access. He will have more access to the network or he will have more access to the switch features. Then what is the point? That is why, again, as I said, we are giving him only some access. So that means when a person in real time scenarios, when a person enters enable on a switch or on a router, he is asked to enter a password. Until and unless that password is entered, that person cannot log in into the execution mode, sorry, the privilege mode. He cannot go inside the privilege mode until and unless he writes a password. Okay, so from the execution mode to the privilege mode in real scenarios, in real time networks, you need to enter a password after typing the enable command. After you enable the after you press or after you write the enable command, you are asked to enter a password. Then only you will have access to the privileged mode. All right, so as I said, you need to enter a password to enter to gain access to the privileged mode. Okay, and now let's see how can we set that password. Okay, so this is the execution mode. Okay, now as I said, I want to configure a password. If I want someone, okay, if I want someone to first enter a password, so that after enable he is asked a password to enter into the privilege mode, I have to configure a password. So if I have to configure a password, I will type this particular command, configure terminal. Okay, this means that now I can configure, I'm entering the terminal where I can configure things on the switches. Where I can configure things on the switches. Okay, and you can clearly see the first and foremost difference. From a switch hashtag, the prompt has changed to switch config hashtag. This means now you are inside the configuration mode. Till now, you were in the you were in the privilege mode. You were in the privilege mode. Now you are in the configuration mode, where you can configure the switch. Where you can configure the switch. Okay. Any question till here? So we are into the configuration mode. Okay. Now, when I'm into the configuration mode, again, there are different things that I can configure. Now, to check what are the different things that I can configure, I can just simply press question mark and it will start giving me these options. with which I can start the command prompt. So the question mark does not tell you what are the different options, not only tells you what are the different options that you have after a particular command prompt, but it also tells you with what line you can with what line you can start, with what line you can start the whole command line. Okay, so with question mark you can see I can, after this hashtag, I can start with AAA, I can start with access list, clock, enable, exit, host name, etc. I can start like that. So let's change the host name. Okay, here the host name is mentioned as switch. Here the host name is mentioned as switch. Let me change this host name into a different name. Host. So I will type host and press tab. It will auto complete the prompt. Host name, then let me write as, instead of switch, let me write it as SW1. And the moment I press enter, you will see the command prompt has changed. Instead of switch, now it says SW1. So I've changed the host name. Similarly, there are different commands. As I said, we will go through few of these commands in our course, not every command, and you will get to know how to use these different commands for different purposes. Let me change back the command line to its host name to its original. That is host name, switch. Switch. You will see again the switch. Okay. Now, now what I can do is over here, instead of, let's say, instead of typing the whole command again and again, host name, okay, host name, switch like this, or host name, let's say Laksh, something like that. Okay, or again, instead of typing the host name again to CCNA, okay, or again host name to CCIE, whatever. I have to type the command again and again, host name again. In the command in line, host name, I have to keep on typing again and again. Instead of this, what I can just simply do is press the up arrow key on my keyboard. It will show me the last executed command. Okay, the last executed command was host name CCI. If I press the up arrow key once again, the next or the previous command was CCN. Before that, it was Lux. Before that, it was switch. So if you see here, these are the different commands that I have typed previously. And how can I view that? By pressing the up arrow key. And if I press the down arrow key, it will show me those commands which I have typed later. Okay, and when do these command lines come into play? When we are actually really working on a troubleshooting ticket. What are the different commands line that I have executed? I can quickly just go through each of these command lines quickly. Okay, so up arrow key, it automatically showed me the last command line is hostname CCL. So let me change back the host name to the original name, switch. All right. Now, as I said, if I want, as I said, if I want the password to be enabled between the execution mode and the privilege mode, okay, so that unwanted access is not there, I need to set up a password. So to set up a password, I will say enable. You can see here enable. Okay, and it clearly mentions with this enable command, what can I do? It modifies enable password parameters. It enables or modifies password parameters. So let's do that. So enable. Then after this, I don't know what is the command that I have to type. Again, if I press question mark, it shows me what is the password that I want. Okay, so I will type enable password. Then again question mark. It tells me to write. It tells me to write a clear text password. Okay. Either, and here you can see line. We'll talk about these two later. Okay. Here you can say line. I don't have to type the word line. It is asking me to type the password. Enable password. Let me type the password as Cisco, for example. When I press enter, the password is now set. And to check this, what I can do, I have to come out of this modes or different modes in order to reach the execution mode. So I will type exit. It exits from the configuration mode. See here, it exits the configuration mode and now it's in the privilege mode. Again, if I type exit, instead of exit, if I type disable, it goes back to the user execution mode. Right now, to go back to the privilege mode, I need to type enable. The moment I type enable, it asks me the password. It asks me the password, and until and unless I type the correct password, it is not going to let me enter into the execution mode. Also, not the execution mode, privilege mode. It's not going to allow me to enter the privilege mode. Okay. So in real time, as I mentioned, when you type enable, it actually asks you the password. Because without a password, we just saw without a password, if anyone types enable, he or she gets a direct access to a lot of features in the switch, which basically is a threat, is basically a vulnerability in the switch configuration. All right, clear? Any question? Okay. So we can, as I said, we can enter the configuration terminal by writing configure terminal, or you can just simply type conf t, which is a short form for configuration terminal. You'll still get this output. So most of the vendor switches are smart enough to understand the short forms also. Okay, you don't have to type the whole command. Okay, you don't have to type the whole command. Okay, so show MAC address table, show MAC address table. I don't have to type the whole command. I can just type the short. In short, I can just simply write show sh MAC hyphen. It will show me the exact output. Why? Because with sh, the only command that completes this particular two-letter command is show. That is why it is able to identify sh. Right? And after Mac hyphen, this is the only command or command prompt that completes the whole command line output. So if I press enter, it gives me the same output. However, with show, if I just press show enter, it shows me incomplete. Also, if I press show, let's say, yeah, show I. What is show I? And if I press enter, it will say ambiguous command show I. Why? Because with I, there are two other or two command prompts that start with I. So if I just simply write show I, the switch does not know which command am I looking for, which output am I looking for. Am I looking for the output of interfaces or am I looking for the output of IP? It does not know. That is why it mentions ambiguous command. So if I just write show in, okay, so there is only one command which completes in, that is interfaces. And if I just simply press enter, it will show me that out, because there is no other line which starts with, or there is no other word that starts with in. It's interfaces. So the switch knows I'm looking for the output of show interfaces. Right. Similarly, show, let me see what are the other um, mm, 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 okay, with TE. Okay, show TE. You might be thinking if you just simply type TE, you might be thinking it might show you the terminal, show terminal. You press enter, it says ambiguous command. Why? You can see with TE, there are two different command outputs. One is a tech support, the other is a terminal. Which one are you looking for? So you need to write, if you're looking for terminal, you need to write TER and then press enter. It will show you the output for show terminal. Right. So as I said, for not every command requires the whole command word to be executed, like show mac address table. It's not needed. You can, if if you want to save time and the commands are at the fingertips, at your fingertips, you can just simply write show mac hyphen, sorry, so that sh space mac, enter, it will show you the same output. Okay, so this basically saves your time in real time. Let's say there was a problem and you need to work on that problem quickly. So these shortcuts will help you save that time. All right. So with this, I will stop today's session, and tomorrow again we'll continue the session with further more CLI commands, and we'll start with VLANs. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right.
Yeah. And sir,
Hmm.
while giving the password, while using enable secret, like
Yeah.
may I know, like exactly what is MD5 hashing? Like it uses MD5 hashing, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
MD5 hashing. Okay, even to be very honest, I do not know the working of MD5. Okay,
Okay.
or
Okay.
what basically, how is MD5 created? Even
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. But
Okay.
okay, it's a kind of an hashing algorithm. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I hope you know what is a hash algorithm.
No, no, I'm not aware.
Okay.
Mm.
I don't want to go deep inside because it's
Okay.
again
Yes,
it's
yes. Understand.
from an electronics or a computer point of view, it's a huge topic.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
kind of, imagine it's kind of an algorithm.
Okay.
Okay, it is a kind of an algorithm which will turn your, let's say I typed Cisco.
Mm.
Okay, which will use some kind of mathematical formula. Okay, to convert this Cisco into a gibberish. So since you brought that up, let me okay, share my, forgot to share. Let's say I type Cisco. Show me if I use enable secret. You mentioned it. Okay. So to configure it, configuration terminal, use the secret command. Secret, and then again next. Let me type this as Cisco again. Enable secret Cisco. Okay, it says it's the same as so let me change it to CCN. Okay, CCN. Now when I do a show run, since you have asked it, I hope you know what is a running configuration. Others, don't
Yes.
worry, we'll talk about that later. Okay, show running configuration. Okay, so over here, when I do a show, you can see here, there are two types of
Yes.
enable passwords that I created. One was a using enable password Cisco. The other was a enable secret.
Yes.
Okay, so with enable password Cisco, anyone who has access to the execution mode, he can run this command show running configuration and he can check your password. with just
Okay.
simple enable password. But with secret, as I said, it converted the CCNA. It converted the CCNA and ran the MD5 algorithm, which is some kind of a mathematical formula, and converted this CCNA into a very gibberish form,
Yes, sir.
into a very
Understand.
gibberish form. That is the only difference with enable secret. So when you run the show running configuration, it will show you into a gibberish form. And how does this work? To be very honest, I don't know how. What kind of mathematical formula or what kind of how does it use the hashing algorithm to convert CCNA into this gibberish form? To be very honest, even I don't. Okay, and you need to
Yes.
run a D algorithm. You need to reverse back this algorithm in order to get back CCN, in order to get back the output of CCN. Got my point? I hope
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if I answered your question, but I hope I
Yeah,
did.
it's clear. It's clear.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
no problem.